There was a time when the world was alive, when the rivers sang and the trees spoke, when ancestors guided our visions of the future, and art was not separate from life. This time is always here. Welcome to Cosmology for Creators, connecting to the source of your creative vision, reweaving relationship with the web of life. Hello, I am Shante Zenith, and I am beginning this podcast, Cosmology for Creators, to make a space for sensing into relational fields of ancestors, ecosystems, and wider systemic forces that shape creative process. Today, I want to invite us into a short sensing practice that can be like a kind of diagnostic attuning process for a creative vision that you're carrying. So, want to invite you to sense into a particular project that you're working on. It could be a piece of art you're making, it could be a whole body of work, or it could be a threshold of transformation that you find yourself at, where art and life are meeting. And just feel the energetic quality of that vision, that project. Does it have a particular texture? Do you notice qualities, sensations, images that show up as you sense into the presence of your project? And in a kind of relational field cosmology space that we're in together, really acknowledging the consciousness, the intelligence of this vision. So you are dreaming it, you are connected to it, but it's also its own being that is in relationship to you. And just feeling that resonance, that quality of presence between you and this vision. And then noticing surrounding your project, what are the collective relational fields that are shaping it? It may be the community that you're co-creating the project with. It may be the histories of the mediums that are part of the project. It may be some of the social layers or collective layers, the themes. But what's present in that relational field space? That may also be shaping the expression and the possibility of the project. And there may be layers here around capitalism or colonization and some of the ways those structures create different expectations or censorship or burden on creative expression also. I'm just feeling for how the spirit of your project interfaces with those social fields. Does it feel ignited by them? Is there a sense of constriction in some way? And especially in that social space, you'll probably notice there are layers of overlapping fields. So there's a kind of whole cacophony of qualities that are present. But just this attuning might give you a sense of if there are any particular places where it feels like energy is stuck, something feels highly charged, something feels confused, and also noticing if there are places of resource and flow and nourishment. So these are the two layers that are probably familiar to most creators already. The spirit of your project, that essence quality, and the collective social fields that you're interfacing with. So now we're going to widen and play with that wider cosmology, what Four Arrows and Darshan Narvaez call the kinship worldview, that expands beyond the human into relationship with nature, into relationship with ancestors, into relationship with cosmos. This is also, there's layering with Alexander Laszlo's systemic process around syntony spheres, this sense that there are these different spheres of relationship that come into harmonic play together like a jazz improvisation. So from that social layer, we'll now sense into the ancestral layer. And you may have already started to do this if there are aspects of your project that are connected to the past, if they're connected to certain people or lineages or histories. But just really letting your sensing of that widen. And noticing also if there are themes in your project that have a deeper unfurling or connection. There may be particular desires or longings, places that you kind of keep coming back to and keep working with that have to do with ancestral patterns. And sensing both the close-in ancestors, the ancestors in your own lineage that you might be able to give name to. You might know where they come from. You might have seen photographs of them or read about them in a genealogy. An awareness of those near ancestors, but then also that widening back and the sense of the deep time ancestors, those ancestors that were rooted into relationship with land and community in a very different way than most colonial ancestral lineages are in the short term. There's something that Francesca Mason Boring calls the universal indigenous field, the sense that all humans come from ancestors who are in deep relationship with the ecosystem, with the dreaming of the land. And there are different depths of time depending on one's ancestry. But there's a contact before a sense of rupture or a sense of disconnection, where there's a belonging to a wider field. And just noticing there may be particular lands that start coming through, as well as that sensing of ancestry, places your people come from. And seeing if there are particular threads of lineage, particular qualities that are connected to your project, to this creative vision. And those may be places that are kind of seeking resolution, seeking some sort of alchemy. And there may also be places that are wanting expression, are wanting to really embody a wider belonging, a fuller sense of what it means to be human than is often allowed in dominant consensus reality. And then we're going to go another layer out. And this is the layer that widens ancestry to what is even beyond the human. So all of us have different nature beings, different trees or rivers or animals, bodies of water, mountains, that we feel a kind of resonance with. And so just sensing into, for you and for this creative vision that you're carrying, are there particular nature allies that are present for you? Particular plants or animals or landscapes that hold a wisdom for what you're dreaming, what you're trying to create. And noticing their qualities. Noticing their rhythm, if they have a movement or they have a stillness. What that can teach you, what that can open up in your sensing of your project. And then we're going to widen to this even more primordial layer. This layer that becomes elemental, archetypal, connected to those energetic essence qualities that are part of what I call the fabric of reality. It says where things are mythic, things kind of move into non-duality and paradox. And sensing here for what I would call the wider ritual of your project. There are particular qualities or essences that you are bringing in this dreaming. In this realm, because it's the most energetic, you might notice particular kinds of movement or texture, rhythm, stillness, pulsation. And they're both distinct fields here. And there's also a sense of kind of melting into the unified field, what my teacher Bree Greenberg calls the field of existence, which is this place of primordial love. It is the actual fabric of reality. And so there's that dance here between that unity and that coming into differentiation, coming into form. And from here, whatever senses you're having of that widest space, returning to attune to the center. There's this kind of energetic paradox in this structure of cosmology, where the core source of your creative vision it's related to all of those layers and to the widest at the same time as it's kind of the most distilled, the most potent. And just feeling that inside of you and inside of the spirit of your project. Feeling that like a seed or like a gem or like the ember of a fire. And just noticing what that concentrated version of this whole layered field sensing feels like at the center for you. You might start getting a sense of its rhythm, the way that it moves. And I call this relational field alchemy. This kind of attuning and presence to all of these different layers, and then anchoring back into the body and into your vision. So, thanking all of these different beings, all of these different fields, and whatever glimpses, tastes, touches they've offered you in this time. And if it is helpful to take any notes or do any drawings or somehow kind of document this experience as something to return to, it's an invitation to you. And if you'd like to go deeper, this is kind of the seed version of how I'm playing with people. So reach out to me, visit my website, and see if there's a way that you would like to continue the weaving. Thank you for listening to Cosmology for Creators. May any nutrients ripple out to all the places they are needed. You can continue the weaving by following this podcast and my Substack, Earth Poet Edgeweaver, or visit my website, cosmologyforcreators.com, to learn more about my practice.